Hey, how's it going? This is Kean from Cooking Chefs, and guys, today we're going to be making pizza dough, right? So we're going to be making pizzas. This dough is going to be enough for about two pizzas, about 25 centimeters, 20 to 25 more or less. So guys, this is going to be a really nice dough. You don't really need a good oven for it. Our oven is terrible, and you'll see the amazing results. So guys, no more chit chat and let's start cooking. Okay, so we're going to start by preparing our pizza dough. Okay, so for our pizza dough, we're going to be needing a little bit of flour, some water, sugar and salt, and we're going to be using dry yeast. Okay, to activate our yeast, we're going to have to warm up our water just for about 10 or 15 seconds in the microwave so you get it lukewarm, and then you're just going to put a little bit on the yeast on a cup or something, and you're going to mix it until it's really incorporated, and then you just incorporate that to the dough when you incorporate the water. So yeah, we're going to make like a little volcano sort with the flour, a hole in the middle, and then we're going to add our water and our yeast. Okay, so the technique that we're going to be using to incorporate the water into our flour is we're going to put our hand in like a claw shape, and we're going to start going in small circles, incorporating bit by the sides all the flour into the water. And if you go bit by bit, you won't spill any water. Further ahead, you can decide if you need more flour or not. Every recipe changes depending on what flour you're using. So yeah, I'm just using plain flour here, and yeah, you're going to be using more or less the same quantities of water and flour as I am, but you want a sticky dough at the same time completely dry. Okay, so if you work through the dough, you should find sticky points, but the entire global state of the dough should be pretty dry. So as I was just saying, I used the amount of water that it said on the recipe, which I didn't need to, and this stage I added more water, which was in excess, so I had to rectify with a little bit more of flour. Anyways, this should be the result after kneading for about 10 minutes. So we want it kind of fluffy and not very rough. Just after kneading for about 10 minutes, we're going to just let it rest for 24 hours in our bowl in the refrigerator. So if your dough starts to get really tough and it starts to tear, what you can do is just leave it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes until all those nice gluten structures relax and they let you actually mold it. So 10 minutes, just leave it rest, and you'll come back to it and it'll be a new dough.
So now we're gonna make the tomato sauce. So you will see it's really easy, really simple. We're just gonna cut some vegetables, fry them, and add chopped tomatoes inside with some other ingredients, and let's reduce for a long time. So it's gonna be really tasty and really nice for the pizza dough. So no much chat and let's cook!
Alright, so for this tomato sauce, what we're aiming for is to infuse all of our flavors of our vegetables really slowly into our tomatoes and our tomato sauce. So we're going to be using natural tomatoes and a can of tomatoes as we're not in season. The idea behind this is to control the acidity point. It's just a nice balance using a couple fresh tomatoes and a can of tomatoes.
Sriracha, please make a partnership with us. Sriracha.
After that, we're going to be adding a couple of herbs to this, and we're going to simmer it for a minimum of 45 minutes before we actually blend it. Once we blend all of our ingredients together or blend up our sauce, we can reduce it for another 30 minutes or until we actually got a really nice thick sauce. So what we're aiming for is to eliminate as much water as we possibly can from the sauce, because that will actually just make our pizza dough soggy. and make sure you correct and season your sauce to taste. Okay, so now 24 hours our dough has rested, and now we're ready to portion and to ball each portion. So to ball or portion each portion, we're going to start by kneading them for about 5 to 10 minutes, and we're going to start to perform a certain amount of folds for about 5 minutes, like I'm going to show you now in the video. Just to incorporate loads of air into our dough. So we're going to stretch it, we're going to get those gluten structures nice and elastic at the same time that we're going to be putting air into our dough. So we're folding all those sides into the center and those sides into the center, and you're just going to keep on turning the dough in your hand and keep on doing this. Okay, so if it gives you any sort of resistance, you can just leave it sit there for 5 or 10 minutes, and when you come back to it, it'll be ready to keep working. We will know we're finished when we have a nice smooth surface with no rough areas. And yeah, if we don't actually have this smooth surface, we can just continue to do our folds and rest if necessary, and we're just going to continue doing the folds like you can see on the video. After we've finished doing the folds, we're going to ball it until it's really nice and smooth, and we can rest it for another 24 hours. Every time you leave it rest on the counterpiece or in the bowl, just make sure you put plastic film on top of it so it doesn't develop a crust. This crust you won't be able to get rid of in case it forms. So guys, now for us it's the next day because we let the dough rest the full night. It's not necessary for you guys, you can leave it just 2 hours and the pizza would be ready, the pizza dough would be ready to stretch. But yeah, we just left it till the next day, and this results with a much airy dough. And you'll see right now our dough is really big and really airy, so we're not going to really stretch it that much. So yeah, we're just going to be making 2 pizzas. The first pizza is going to be 4 cheeses with a little bit of bacon and basil, and the other one is going to be peppers, it's going to be mushrooms, and a little bit of cheese, chorizo and salchicha. So guys, no more chit chat and let's get to it. Okay, so another 24 hours have passed since we left this pizza dough rest. Our pizza dough is full of air and it's just ready to be stretched and to be put in the oven. So we're going to start stretching this first from the center to the sides, making our crust from the very first moment, and we're just going to start very slowly stretching out this dough. When we can't actually stretch it out more with our fingers, with our hands by pressing, we can just start flipping it from one knuckle to the other knuckle and so on. So once we've got our dough to the dimension we actually want it, to make our crust we're just going to press with our finger on the side of the pizza just to make that limit where we're not going to put any sauce. Alright, so we're going to get our oven rack, and guys, it's now the moment you have to get your oven rack and place your pizza dough on it, because if you do it after, when you put all those toppings on the pizza, then your pizza is just gonna break in pieces, and I learned this the hard way, right? So we're gonna start off by putting our tomato sauce and then our cheese. Our pizzas are 4 cheeses, and we're gonna pop it in the oven for about 7 to 8 minutes, depending on your oven, at max temperature. So we're gonna set this about 7 to 8 minutes at max temperature in your oven. So mine is 250 Celsius, and I put that for about 7 minutes. Alright, so we're going to proceed with our second dough. We're going to scrape it off its container, and we're going to stretch it bit by bit. This one was actually more airy, so it was even easier to stretch. So I just pulled the sides on this one. Make sure you flour both sides, and yeah, it was just really easy. Put your toppings on and throw in the oven. So guys, this has been our video of pizza. This is our own recipe of making pizza. It takes 50 hours to make this recipe, so I really recommend you guys do this at home. You're going to see a really big change in your pizza game, and if you haven't actually made pizza at home yet, this is going to bring the level to a really high standard. So guys, get that tomato sauce nice and thick, nice and tasty, get that oven ripping hot, and you'll be ready for a fantastic experience. We made a little bit of a movie sequence with all these pizza shots that we have. I hope you guys like it. Leave a huge like if you think it's cool. Leave your opinion in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for watching. This has been Kian. Bye bye.